Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Just want to discuss a couple of observations I found with this pond over the last month or so. I don't know anybody that's been following my channel. Remember I made a video, I had a whacking great big massive pH crash, and I couldn't suss it out at the time. I didn't know what it was, but I finally found out what's caused it. Now I don't pretend to be a scientist or a chemist, so I don't understand why, but I'll explain what I found anyway. When I built this pergola, I made it absolutely dead level, got spirit level, and I didn't put a slope on it. I built it absolutely dead level. You could put marbles on top of there and they would stay there, it was perfect. And any excess water would run off the sides, back and front, and it was good, not a problem whatsoever. Really pleased with it. I couldn't believe how level that was. But anyway, after a couple of years, those spars going across there, I suppose they've dried out. The wood we buy today is not like the old days, it's proper seasoned wood once upon a time, but this stuff's as wet as, that holds, wood you buy these days, that holds as much water as that pond. It's soaking, it's supposed to be seasoned and tannalised and all this. One tip, never buy any tannalised wood, because all that's doing is trapping the moisture inside the wood. It just rots from inside out then, so I wouldn't never touch that tannalised stuff. But anyway, what I done was, because all those spars, I suppose they dried out over a couple of years and they started having a bit of a bow in it. So that polycarbonate roof was holding like big puddles of water. Anyway, even after a couple of days, even a week maybe after we've had rain, it would get past that gasket in that joining spar in the middle. And I'd be sitting there and there'd be like a constant, well, not constant drip, but every now and again there'd be a drip, 2 or 3 drips actually, different places, dripping into the pond, and it was starting to annoy me, because it could happen a week after we've had rain, but I still have massive puddles up there. So anyway, what I decided to do, I decided to jack it up, put a slope on it, and I didn't want it going sloping towards the back. I didn't want to soak that shed. I didn't want any water coming off of the side there, or in those fence panels, and I didn't want any water sort of collecting on that lawn, flooding the lawn. So I decided to jack it up at the back, thinking that the water would fall onto the patio and then just run off, just run off to the sides. So anyway, I did that. I jacked it up. Put a nice sort of slope on it now, so the water, when the water comes off, after a day or so, that polycot sheeting would just dry up and there'd be no puddles. And I haven't jacked it up by much. I don't know if that's clear, I don't know if that, you can see the markings there. I've taken it up, 1.5 inches, 2 inches at the back. I can't see this screen, guys, because the glare, I hope that's coming through. But you can see how much I've jacked it up there, I hope. Anyway, thought no more of it. Thought no more of it, was really pleased. Except what I did find, well actually no, I'll come on to that in a minute. Anyways, I was quite pleased with it. But then I had this pH crash, and you know what, I scratched my head and I couldn't suss it out, I didn't know why. Anyway, after about a month of jacking this up, I noticed that I'd done another pH test. This was after a real big heavy storm, I suppose. Must have lasted all day long. I noticed that the pH started crashing again, and I think I sussed out why. What's happening was, when the rain was coming off this front edge of this pergola, instead of hitting the floor there like I thought and then just running off naturally down each side, it was hitting these paving slabs, and the water was ending up in the pond. I mean, this pond level was going up by like 2 inches. You know, the skimmer stopped working because it was going higher than the skimmer. And I noticed this a month after I had my first pH crash. So that's what it was, guys, all this rainwater collecting in the pond. Now, before we put that polycarbonate up, it just had like green, I don't know, green garden netting on top, and I never ever experienced a problem with pH. But I'm just wondering if, I mean, I don't know, like I said at the beginning, I'm not a scientist, but is that polycarbonate collecting more water than the netting would let through, if you know what I mean? You know, for that to rise by 2 inches after a day of constant heavy rain, would I have got the same amount of water in the pond if that was netting? I don't know. Because this, like I say, this just used to have netting on it and I've never had a problem, but this is definitely the cause of my pH crash. All that rain coming off of there, bouncing off those paving slabs, ending up in a pond, making that water level rise 2 inches. So as a consequence of that, what I've done is I've now fitted, again, sorry guys, this glare today is quite bad, but I've now fitted some guttering along there. Now fitting some guttering along there. Still got to do something with that downpipe. I've got a length of downpipe, but I need a couple of angles to make it neat and tidy. But now basically what that's doing, when that rains now, the water's running into that guttering and dispersing it down there by that tree. And that's about a month ago, I suppose. And I noticed yesterday, all them storms we had yesterday, that guttering was doing a good job taking all that water away. I checked my pH this morning and it's spot on. I mean, obviously we're still getting a bit of rainwater from the sides getting in there, but she's spot on. But what I'm trying to understand is why, maybe because that's acting like a river, you know, like a waterfall with all that water coming down, whereas the green netting was letting a certain amount of water through, but nowhere near enough as what's coming off this polycarbonate roofing. I don't know. The other observation I'd like to make is don't shoot me in flames. Don't shoot me down in flames over this, because I don't know if I'm right or wrong. It's just an observation on this pond. Went away for a week a couple of weeks ago, and as a precaution I put my air pump on 24/7. Now, I don't normally suffer with blanket weed because this don't get much sunlight, so never had a reason to worry about blanket weed. This grows a sort of moss, if you know what I mean, and sometimes get handfuls going through the bottom drain into the drum, and it's like a sort of moss as opposed to that stringy blanket weed. But anyway, went away for a week. Put the air pump on, mainly as a precaution, so I thought if anything did happen, if the pump did pack up or whatever, at least they'd have oxygen in the pond. When I come back, I couldn't believe it. The pond walls were just masses and masses of blanket weed, the stringy stuff. It was all in the drum, all in the bottom drain, couldn't believe it. And I'm just wondering, you know, I know we've sort of been indoctrinated about air, got to put air in the pond all the time. And you know what, I question that because, you know, I've got enough air going into my bio side on my drum filter. I've got enough air crashing, well, enough water crashing over that shower to produce tons of oxygen. And I don't know if you can see it, but where my inductor jets are in the pond, I don't know if you can see that ripple on the water. Now, so there's a constant, that water on the top, on the surface, is constantly moving because of those jets. So, you know, there's gas exchange there. And I'm just wondering, you know, if we're putting too much air in our ponds, because everybody's moaning about this blanket weed. Like I say, I don't normally suffer from it, but with that air pump running 24/7 for like 6-7 days, I come back and it was just a jungle of blanket weed. I got to say, I mean, although I've got an air pump, you know, and I've got that aerated dome, I don't really use that for oxygenating the pond. I'll tell you what I use that for more than anything, is cleaning the pond. I find if I put that on like a couple of hours a day, you know, it just takes the fines out of the water, it just lifts all the crap off the bottom, and any fines in the water get sucked into the bottom drain. And I use it more as like a polishing tool, as opposed to oxygenating the water. So I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but it's just an observation I made. You know, like I say, this pump, and even on these sort of summer balmy nights, I might, if I remember, I might put the air pump on overnight. But on the occasions where I've forgotten about it, you know, I've come out here in the morning and those fish are swimming about happy as anything. You know, they're not all gasping at the air, they're not all round that shower outlet trying to get as much oxygen as they can. You know, so they're perfectly happy. It's not as if there's oxygen depleted. I think there's plenty of oxygen in there without the air pump. Like I say, the amount of oxygen that shower's creating by itself, the amount of oxygen obviously being created in the bio side. I know the bio side is using oxygen to multiply and to breathe and, you know, feed, but you know, there must be way excess oxygen coming out of there, ending up back in the pond. And with these, like I say, there's always a ripple on the top of this pond with those inductor jets. So that's just a couple of observations. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know, but it's just what I've observed. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, guys. You know, since I've turned that air pump off, I haven't treated it with anything. I've just been going around with a twirly stick, just putting it off day in, day out, you know, purging the bottom drain every couple of hours, and I seem to have got on top of it now. But, you know, just a couple of observations. The only other thing I've done is on the shower over there, I've put some ferns in the top, well, in the top and in the middle. I thought it looked nice with some ferns, but I've got a funny feeling that they're deciduous, so I think they're going to die back in the winter time. So what I've done is I've bought some of this. I found this in the garden centre. That's a Japanese fern, and that's an evergreen. So what I might do, I might go back to the garden centre, buy another one of them if they've got any left, and I might swap them ferns out of there, because they're quite dainty, them ferns that's in there at the moment. But they're taking off, they're doing alright, but I think they're deciduous, so I think they're going to die back in the winter. So I think I'll put that, I'll break that plant up over there, and I'll put that Japanese holly in, which is like an evergreen, so even in the winter you'll have something to look at. Still haven't dug this out. Keep saying I'm going to dig that out so my air source heat pump can go in there, but it's been too hot, guys. You know what it's been like. This is my standpipe with my airline going in to the bottom drain, and what I do once or twice a week, I just literally push that up and down, like that, and that dislodges anything that's caught in that bottom drain line.